Hi, I'm Tashari, co-founder and CTO here at Attach AI.
Hi, I'm Dakota. I'm the CEO and a co-founder here at Attach AI. And today we're going to walk you through one of our workers, Carter. Carter is really a coworker for the IR team. And you can see that Carter can do a lot of different things. Basically, whatever you put into Carter as his knowledge base, he'll be able to seamlessly query and respond back to you with answers and also help you draft communications related to that. So really simple examples that you kind of can see here are things like automating investor letters, automating email communications. And the really cool thing about what Carter can do is Carter can actually understand your tone. So we sort of feed Carter formal sorts of communications that you've delivered to LPs. We can even customize this by team member so that you're consistently getting back an output that is something that mimics the voice and style and brand and feel of your team. And so we'll kind of go through some of these specific layers. I think one really important thing about what we're doing here is we've finally tuned this model specifically for asset management. And we ourselves were doing, you can scroll down a little bit to Shar. We ourselves were doing IR for a company that we ran that was a fund of funds. So we're intimately familiar with the challenges that sort of plague IR and want to make it easier for investor relations teams to scale and make their LPs very happy. And that's the most important part. So let's dive in.
Let's get started. What would you like to ask Carter first, Dakota?
Start asking Carter about the portfolio. So let's ask, like, what are the top three portfolio positions? And then maybe after we get that, we can ask Carter to send bring an investor update about these different positions. So let's see. And for context, Carter has been trained on an LPA, also a couple of different audited financials. Carter will probably keep referencing 2023 financials specifically, a couple of investor updates, including really detailed updates about these positions and the thesis and that whole thing. And I think that's it. Oh, a couple of like specific distribution statements and capital call statements as well, and some partner account statements. So yeah, that's the high level.
And here Carter is picking from that information. He has the top three portfolio companies. You'll also see that Carter gives deep explanations as to where he's getting this information from, along with quotes from specific documents from where it's pulling that information.
Yeah, I think this is really important because you had an analyst on your team. They would go and they would figure things out, but they would also cite things and tell you exactly what was going on. And so that's exactly what Carter does, which is great. So maybe let's do the next thing. Let's say, okay, you have this. Let's maybe make an investor letter that updates on our thesis for these three companies as an example.
And an update on the thesis for top three portfolio.
Cool. And I think the other great thing about this is you can feed in other data, like how you've reached valuations. And, again, the depth of this integration can be really deep over time. But the way we usually start with people is a couple of basic documents. They see with the team that it works and they use it for that. And we go deeper and deeper and can go as deep as logging of emails and things like that to kind of capture tone and capture information for your internal use. So let's see here. What is Carter coming up with? This is fun for us too because it's generating everything in real time. So it's always great to see what Carter kind of does. So I think Carter's saying, like, dear LPs, we're excited to extend like an update about the portfolio, and kind of goes through and talks about, it even starts to give a couple of things that is gathered from emails, like a challenging macro and other things. And it kind of gives you these deep dives into each piece. So starts off with this, kind of can take from the financial statements that is X% of partners' capital, gives all these explanations and everything. So I think what we can do if people are interested is send these outputs so you can see them directly. But, I think what Carter's doing is a pretty good start to an investor relations letter. And of course, you could start to prompt Carter and say little things like, hey, actually, you should change this to say our thesis has changed on this. Mm-hmm. The thesis should actually be that. And those sort of things are where Carter specializes. So this is great. Let's scroll all the way down to Shar, and then maybe we can start to do, it keeps going. I love it. Carter is very thorough, as any good analyst on an IR team would be. So you kind of see these things here. I love it. And maybe, Shar, we can start getting into more financial use cases.
Yeah, let's do
so
that.
The next thing let's ask about is, like, what are the different levels for valuation, as an example? Because I think there's like a valuation policy it's been trained on with these different levels. Maybe we can start there.
There we go. All right. So what are the different levels for assets based on the valuation policy?
So I think for this one, it probably is going through the audited financials and looking through the auditor statements about the different valuation policies. Okay, let's see here. On level 2, level 3. Okay. And goes and gives a detailed explanation.
You're right. It goes to the audited financials.
Yeah, that's great. Business and private companies. Awesome. And as you can imagine, look, at some point you can also make this external facing. We believe it's really good for that, and we can put certain parameters around it. But I think a lot of people like to start off with it using it as an internal tool, which I think makes sense. Which direction should we go next, Tushar? Do you think it's like we should give a detailed understanding of like IRR changes, or should we talk about something else? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Let's look at the IRR changes, and I'm curious if it can also answer good questions around like the capital account statements and distribution.
What's that? I like that. Let's do that. Let's go on around that. I'll let you choose.
Yeah, so let's do IRR first. So please break down. Let's see, IRR change since inception as of 2023.
Perfect.
And here it's going to go through all the different audited financials to pull this information.
Let's see here. Key drivers. Oh, looks like there was a decline. Okay, there were some markdowns in the portfolio. Specifically, management fees stepped down. Okay, delayed monetization events. So it's giving like a lot of specific details. And it's nice because I think it's picking these up from an email from the, let's see here. Yeah, it looks like it was directly from an investor letter from the IR team. Yeah, so this is perfect. And to be clear for you all, this is actually trained on some real data. So this is why I'm like, oh, where's it grabbing this stuff from? Okay, this looks good. And it says that there's some positive developments and giving more detail. So I love that. And again, I think even the structure of these outputs can be changed based on your firm. So maybe there are different ways that you want to do this, and we're happy to figure out how to do that for you. And I'll also say that like we can do integrations to make Carter more autonomous. So he could theoretically go draft emails for you and put them into your inbox that you can check them and then send them off, and all kinds of other stuff, which is great. And it goes like Carter's going super deep in the weeds. Carter's like I used to work at a hedge fund before. Carter's like the analyst that I strive to be every single time when I was presenting all that. I love it. Carter's amazing. All right, cool. What's the next thing you want to do, Tushar?
Let's look at more on the capital account statements.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
Give me, what we say? Let's say, because let's talk about Dakota Rise here.
Oh yeah, this is like some of this is trained on my personal data. So let's go in. Let's ask. Maybe do you want to ask something about like how much I've contributed so far versus my my total commitment for this fund? And we're using broad terms like the fund because it's trained on one fund for this one. It can also do this for multiple funds. And we can talk to you all about what goes on underneath the hood and how it does data retrieval and all of these things. Let's see. This is a small commitment that I did into this fund. But yeah, you can see it.
There you go.
A lot of the capital already got called. Just a little bit left to go. Look at that. I love it. Maybe Tushar as like a last step, because I know this one's getting a little long, and we're happy to walk through with anybody who's interested in this, any of the specifics that they'd like to know. Maybe a parting thing that we can do, because this can be a little confusing, is like ask a question about GPLP allocations. Like, what is the policy for how the fund allocates, I don't know, like management fees or like fund expenses or something like that.
Yeah, how does the fund handle splitting profits?
Expense allocations, maybe. Yeah, splitting costs. I like that. Splitting costs
and expenses.
And profits. Yeah, and expenses.
Between GP and LP.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody has any prompts that they want to share with us, share your prompts, and we can do a demo with you, and we can kind of run through those prompts.
Yeah, I love that. And I get so excited about this. Is one other one that I'm kind of like, oh, this would be interesting for us to show, but we can start with this one. I love it. Okay, so it seems like it's getting all this stuff from the LPA list. Okay. Profit, loss allocations. Okay. Let's do this whole thing. Love this. And it's also a nice catch up because if you're an IR team for lots of different funds, like maybe terms have changed and things like that. So sometimes it's nice to just refresh yourself before going to these LP meetings and all of that stuff. Some things we didn't show here like are around the integration. So you could theoretically integrate this into like calendar systems to get a sense of like if one of the partners is going to Miami and you have a bunch of LPs you haven't seen recently in Miami, it can do predictive intelligence around that. We can also take all the queries that people are asking and like do analytics on them, especially interesting if it's for external folks, like if your LPs are looking at stuff. So that's there. And I guess the very last thing, maybe click on Linksmith, Tushar, so people can just kind of see underneath the hood that this is running on real LLMs and is a fully functioning thing. So you can kind of see here that underneath the hood, we're using like Linksmith, and you can see things that we're doing to prompt Carter. So you can kind of see some of the stuff here. There's a lot of sensitive information in the top based on this fund. So we're not going to go through all the other pieces of the chain where you can see that stuff, but trust us that it's all there, that you pass through all this information. But then you actually go in and do a lot more formatting, explanation instructions. You sort of describe things about how the output should look, but also the tone of the output and all of that sort of stuff. So you can see a lot of this information here. And that's what ultimately leads to everything you're seeing. Maybe go back to Shar so you can see it that you're seeing on the other side. So we are excited about the potential to work with a lot of firms on this. We think it's a good entry point to really helping to solve a lot of the overall challenges that exist across the entire sort of middle and back office stack. And we want to help teams across the industry be hyper efficient and really unlock more value for LPs and for the firms. So